Welcome to the homework help video for 2.1.1. This is problem 2-7. It says, evaluate each expression if r equals -3, s equals 4, and t equals -7. Letter A gives us the expression the square root of s plus the absolute value of r. We are just going to take our values of s, right, and we're going to plug in for s, and then we're going to take our value for r and we are going to plug it in as well. Then we're just going to simplify the expression. So instead of saying the square root of s, we're going to say the square root of 4 plus, and then we've got the absolute value of r, and if r is -3, we'll put that in. So we'll take it now and we'll just simplify it down. The square root of 4, right, what times itself gives you 4? That would be 2. And then we have plus, and the absolute value of -3 is 3. So when we add the 2 plus the 3, we get 5. That would be our answer for A. For letter B, we're going to substitute in for S, we're going to substitute in for R, and then we are going to substitute in also for T on this one. So let's do it. So we have S minus R, which means we have 4 minus, and then -3. So you got to be careful there, because that minus that is in the problem already still stays in there, and then you're adding in another one with the -3. And now that is over our t value, which is -7. So now we're going to follow our order of operations. On the top, we know that if we take 4 minus -3, right, it's like the same thing as saying 4 plus 3, which is going to give us 7. And on the bottom, we have a -7. So when we divide something by itself, it's going to be 1. And then since one of them is the opposite, we'll end up with -1. That is our answer for letter B. For letter C, we have 2s to the third power plus r minus t. So we've got s, we've got r, and again we have t. So let's substitute in our numerical values for those variables. So we have 2 times, so instead of s, we're going to put in a 4 to the third power, and you're going to want to put parentheses around that 4. Right now, 4 is the base, 3 is the exponent. So the only thing being raised to the third power is the 4. The 2 is not. Now we're going to add to that our r value, which is -3. Again, we'll put that in parentheses. And then we have minus, and we'll put this in parentheses as well, the -7. Make sure that you keep track of the fact that there is a minus and a negative. And now we'll just do our order of operations, right? So the first thing we need to look at is the grouping symbols, and inside of each of our grouping symbols, it's already simplified. So we'll then move on to our exponents. 4 to the third power, right? 4 to the third power, remember, is 4 times 4 times 4, which is going to give us 16 times 4, which is 64. So we'll say this is going to be 2 times 64. And then we're going to say plus -3, and then minus -7. Okay, and the next step then is multiplication. 2 times 64 is 128. Then we still have plus -3 and then minus -7. So our next step here, 128 plus -3 is going to give us 125. And then we still have minus -7. And remember, when you subtract a negative, that's the same thing as adding. So this is the same thing as 125 plus 7, which would equal 132. And that is our answer. Last one we have is problem D. It says the cube root of 2 times the quantity of t minus r. So let's take this, set this up. We've got cube root of 2 times, and then in parentheses here, looks like we have a -7 minus r, which is -3. So we'll need to do our order of operations here as well. So the first thing we want to do is look inside of here. This is really the same thing as saying -7, and remember this is going to be like plus, so +3, right? Everything else is still the same at the moment. -7 plus 3 is -4, so we're looking at the cube root of 2 times -4. 2 times -4 is -8, so we have the cube root of -8. And then remember, when we're looking for the cube root of something, we're looking for what times itself 3 times gives us that value. So in this case, we know that -2 times a -2 times a -2, right? -2 times -2 is 4, times a -2 gives us -8. Okay, so we know that the cube root of -8 is going to be -2. And that is our answer. So this is problem 2-7 from the 2.1.1 homework. If you have additional questions, please make sure you mark them down and ask in class.